Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com, but no rational debate available. Can't even pay for it on planet Earth. You can show up with some cash and you can't even pay for a rational argument. Somebody to speak some sort of rationalese. I'm going to speak logic and be consistent and tell the truth. Nope, humans don't do that. They don't play that. Yeah, they're too sophisticated. So, the shit-talking asylum has produced nothing. So, so let's just call it day 6. And simple argument, no rational response, no concession. Yes, I get it. There's a problem. We have a paradox on our hands. We better fix that. Nope, nothing. Can't get them to peep on the subject in some sort of coherent manner. So this Lexa guy has made a crap video. As far as I can tell, it's crap. It's only got 3 images in it, and he ends with a Monty Python joke. Haven't played it, but it's crap. He's claiming this is circular logic, okay, to point out something really obvious, that there's a contradiction in your stated belief system. You're saying the water's wet, the water's dry, the water's wet, the water's dry. See, you're saying something really fucking stupid. And all I'm doing is pointing out, gee, you can't do that. It's science, fuckhead. So he's claiming there's an experiment where you take 150, okay, and momentum in an object of larger or smaller mass. Doesn't really matter what the masses are. And you have 50 coming in the other side. And he's claiming in the experiment, science says the magical equation, you rub the magical equation and, well, okay, some smelly gas pops out. But anyway, this happens and the magical, smart little Newton's cradle understands that this has to be, consistent with their kinetic energy theory. So this 150 subtracts from this 50 and you only end up with 100 coming out. See, 100 comes out. That's what we say happens. And then they'll obnoxiously concede that, oh, nobody's saying Newton's cradles work that way. Yeah, 50 comes in, 50 comes in, 50 comes out, 50 comes out, 100, 100. Yeah, it doesn't do any subtraction math. Yeah, 60 minus 40 would be 20. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Well, wait, you're saying it happened here. Here you're saying it subtracts. Here you're saying it doesn't. You can't understand how you can't say both things. You can't say it works this way and then say it works this way. It has to work either one of these ways. It can't work both of them, and especially not at its own discretion. Like, well, when it's really important to Stephen Bro that it comes out his way, well, then it subtracts. But when it's not important, it doesn't. That's not science. That's fucking stupid. Can you understand your dilemma? If you concede that yes, 50 goes in, 50 goes in, 100 comes out, if you concede that that happens, you can't say this happened. I just can't believe 6 days. And they're so unreasonable. They're so dogmatic. They're so jihad, okay, for their woo god, that they won't concede, okay, they have to fix this. Because this doesn't make any sense. You can't say Newton's cradles work both ways. Fuck. I'm sorry, this is just... how can I have anything other than contempt for human beings in this context? Is there any other reason to have any other thing? These are supposed to be smart people who are interested in this kind of scarily complex subject, and they're showing zero integrity. Zero. I mean, these aren't people, like eating lead paint off a windowsill or something. These aren't people eating at 7-Eleven. These are supposed to be people with some sort of brain. fuck. I so overestimated the intelligence. I mean, I've heard of all the Barnum things. Yeah, you can fool some of the people, more the people all the time. Some of the people, some of the blah, blah, blah. I mean, I had some reason to be a little doubtful that humans are all that. But I really, even in my lowest points of contempt for human beings, just never realized, oh, man, they all suck. It's just amazing. Anyway, all right, so we'll go to the video and just marvel at, wow, 6 days and you still don't get it. All right, we're back. So it starts with a little bit of equation fun.
Okay, first, something briefly about the unit of acceleration, meters per second squared.
Yeah, who cares? I mean, that's your formula, that's your nonsense. I don't need to do that. That's not what it is. So we could just take what he wrote here. Distance equals 1/2 times acceleration times time squared. So if I just do that for, say, 3 seconds, let's say 3 seconds of gravity. So I think I can fit it right down here. You don't have to change nothing. So we have a 1/2. Okay. The acceleration is 9.8, okay, meters over 1 second. Okay, and then what else do we have? Times time squared. So the time is 3, so well, let's just use 2 and cheat a little bit. It makes it a little easier. So the time is 2, 2 squared is 4. Okay, so all we have to do is take 1/2. Oh, wait a minute, it's 4 seconds. All right, yeah, let's just cross the seconds out. Let's be done with that. Oh, you can't quite see it. Unfortunately, I do it much too low. Okay, so it's 1/2 times 9.8 times 1 second times 4 seconds. Right, so you cross out the seconds. You do 1/2 of 9.8. It's obviously you get the 4.9, which is correct, times 4 equals 19.6. There, got the right answer. No squares involved, no per second per second. Screw all that nonsense. They're done. So I should just jump ahead because yeah, there. Okay, so what's the problem?
So you don't square the time here in the unit of acceleration.
It's just meaningless. It doesn't say anything. Okay, it's meaningless. The unit of acceleration has to be over a single unit. It can't be over some other unit, or it's not units. Right? It's not in units. I can't say 9.8 if I say 2 seconds or 10 seconds or any other thing than 1 second. I can't use the 9.8 if I don't use 1 second. So just keep ignoring that argument, which is decisive and should end the conversation. Okay? Newton didn't square the seconds. This didn't happen until 1840. So quit pretending that this has something to do with some fact that we all have to believe. Just like your work equation is nonsense. It's just a fact that I can prove it to be nonsense. I've done it in one of the 5-minute videos you won't play. Oh yeah, by the way, he's a little coward because he won't play the videos that are specifically on these points. Oh, Jesus.
Whether you fall for 1 second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds,
then it's not the rate of your acceleration. You can't keep just changing the number up here. The number up here is critically defined by the number down there. You don't put a 1 down there, the thing ain't going to work.
You don't square the time spent falling here in the unit of acceleration.
It doesn't matter. You're squaring something, so in the end, so what's the difference? It's a superfluous pile of crap contrived to justify the silly mv squared, the living force. Okay, it's just fodder for that silly formula.
But you square the time when you're trying to calculate the distance traveled in free fall, when you're falling in gravity. So here you square the time.
So I've already stated this as a fact, okay, and it is just a fact that the distance is what's quadratically increasing, okay? And the fact is, when it is a constant force, that is, it is per second or per unit of time, and it doesn't yield, and it doesn't push more, and it doesn't push less, and it's constant and regular, then there'll be a correlation between time and distance. But that's the only case.
If you fall for 5 seconds, for example, here you put 5 squared 25. And I think this formula for the distance is pretty nice because it sort of resembles the kinetic energy formula. 1/2 times something squared. And
Sorry. I mean, frankly, that doesn't make any sense. We know why the time is squared in this case. It's not some per second nonsense. It's because there's a direct correlation between the square root of the distance, okay, and the number of seconds. If I take the square root of the distance, I get the number of seconds. I get the time. That's why it exists. But I mean, the real thing increasing quadratically is not time. It is in fact, seconds. No, it is in fact meters. That's the fact, and you're just pretending that it's a better formula if we don't pick the right person to be the cause of the effect. Somehow the formula is better. No, it's better if you if you use the right thing, the thing that's actually changing, not the thing indirectly changed by the thing changing. So clearly, it's not good science to pick the one that's, saying the wrong person did it.
you can try this to check that this gives the correct results. This is probably not the way you calculate the distance, but I know.
Frankly, there's so many ways you can calculate the distance. Again, you can do it Galileo's way. You can do it lots of different ways. But why? Again, these are only questions that you find fascinating. What I find more fascinating is just the fact that there's a rate of acceleration. All right, and that's all you need to know, is there is in fact a rate to the force of gravity, and it is in 1 second units. 1 second units. 1 second units.
You can calculate the distance. You also get correct results, so you can check that this formula works.
Go fuck yourself.
Gives the correct results. And the fact that this resembles the kinetic energy formula might be something to think about. But yeah, that was it about the unit.
Well, that's more superficial science. Well, look, it rolled 4 times as far. It must be 4 times the energy. That's what you keep falling for. Look, the dimple in the clay is 4 times as big. It must be 4 times more energy. That's the whole argument I'm making. You just keep doing this. Well, look, it looks so much like it. It must be the real formula. No, it's not.
Of acceleration. Then let's talk something about momentum.
You can try again, but that's just crap. That's just you saying so. You can't show me a single piece of evidence demonstrating it to be true. So just show me one example of a Newton's cradle where 50 comes in here and 50 comes in here and it just stops. Nothing happens. Nothing out. So I can't believe he plays the clip where I'm pointing it out and he somehow doesn't realize that he has defending a theory that's in exact conflict with it. So I just gave it to him. This is what his experiment says does happen. He says this happens, right? He's measured going in, right? I said in the video yesterday, well, they need to measure the going out. Measure the second half of the experiment. Your 150 goes up in gravity, your 50 goes up in gravity. We know gravity gives back exactly what you put in. So we know 150 is coming in, we know 50 is coming in from the other side, and you say 100 is a perfectly rational answer. And the only way that 100 can happen is 150 has to subtract from 50. I'm saying Newton's cradles don't do that, ever. They don't obey your silly vector math rules that these are subtracting momentums. It doesn't happen. That's the assertion. And you're not going to counter it with a single piece of counter evidence. You're just going to say, I'm too stupid to understand. I can't concede his argument and say, no, it doesn't happen, and then claim, yeah, it does happen. That's called two-faced babble. 0. 50 minus 50, 0. Show me that.
Nobody's going to show you that, and nobody believes that would happen.
Okay, so it's just too fucking idiotic. Nobody except every single one of you. So what's up? Where's the argument here, right? What possible argument can there be? Nobody is saying it does subtraction math, except, yes, it's essential to the experiment I showed. The experiment I showed doesn't make any sense if it doesn't do subtraction math, because then it'll be quite obvious that I made free momentum. I put 100 in and I got 200 momentums out. Well, you're not saying 200 momentums came out. And clearly the video doesn't show it. Clearly the ball doesn't go twice as far as where it started. The same ball, the same mass is flying back up. It only goes back to where it started, a little bit short. So clearly it can't have the 200. It must just have the 100. I mean, if every one of you is as dumb as this fucker, I mean, what? We have to go through 18 years of education, right? We have to take you back to school and teach you up from down. Because you're really fucking stupid if you can't see the contradiction between your two statements. You can't say 50 goes in and 50 goes in and 100 comes out, and then say, but if I want it to be different, I can just say, poof, be different. And the experiment works. So I just say the magic words on the Newton's cradle, and then it does subtraction math. 6 days. And look, the image is right here. I mean, it just, he gets the concept, but, your experiment says 150 here, 50 here, and then you subtract, which I'm claiming Newton's cradles can't do. And you're claiming, maybe. I don't know. What are you claiming? Oh, that's right. You're not claiming anything, but you don't even understand your own experiment, the one you're defending. You don't understand its essential elements. Amazing.
The problem here is that that is not conserving kinetic energy. I don't know how you missed that, because it's sort of an essential part of the kinetic energy theory that you have been arguing against for quite some time now. But anyway.
Just amazing. I don't. Fuck you, you're an idiot. Fuck you, you're an idiot. There's nothing else to say. Fuck you, you're an idiot. You're sitting here telling somebody else they don't understand and they're stupid, when clearly what you're saying is incomprehensible babble that a 10-year-old could unravel. I mean, a 10-year-old can understand that these two experiments are different, that they're functioning different. Subtraction is different than addition. Okay? They're two different functions. My claim is Newton's cradles can't do subtraction. Your claim is, well, it can when I want it to.
Let's take a look at this simple case. Two identical objects colliding. Here we have 50 momentum. Let's say this is the positive direction. So here we have minus 50 momentum. Before the collision, the total momentum is 50 minus 50. That is 0.
So again, he's playing the same game. Okay, he's saying it's 0. No, I'm saying the total momentum is obviously 100. That's the total. So we know in your case, it came in one ball. One side had 100. Okay, that's what came in. So you can't play this stupid game. Oh, God. This is such baby talk. Why would you even defend physics that says something that stupid anyway? Okay, that you're going to sit there and say 50 plus 50 is 0. I mean, it's just too fucking stupid on its face. Oh, there's 0 momentum. Two cars are going to crash into each other. Oh, there's 0 momentum in the system. I mean, it's so ridiculously stupid.
And yeah, of course, one case that would conserve this total momentum would be the one where the objects just stop moving. But then you would lose all the kinetic energy. So that can't be the case.
Oh, okay, so he's saying exactly the opposite of what Professor Lewin says, right? Nature can finagle kinetic energy, but nature can't finagle momentum. He's saying exactly the opposite. Nature can finagle momentum, but no, nature loves kinetic energy and it preserves it wherever it can. So he's saying exactly the opposite, but he won't explain why Professor Lewin was wrong. Oh, God damn. This is just such a stupid video.
And we know that this is what would happen. The objects would just bounce back, change direction. So then we have minus.
Right, 50 plus 50 will equal 100. No subtraction. The left doesn't subtract from the right, and you don't end up with no motion.
50 on this side and 50 on this side. And the total momentum is minus 50 plus 50. That is still 0. So the total momentum was.
I mean, it's just too silly. It's just so fucking silly, the total momentum. When people say total or net, okay, they're saying independent of your gibberish, your math. Oh, it's just so disgusting. You're a disgusting, trolling piece of shit. If you just changed these numbers to 60 and 40, you couldn't play this retarded game, and you know it. If you had 60 coming in one side, 40 coming in from the other side, then you'd have to do real subtraction math. You couldn't say, oh, there's 0 coming in. Then he would say there's only 20 coming in. Right? It's just too stupid.
Conserve, but now we are also conserving kinetic energy, as we should in an elastic collision. When I was thinking about these objects colliding, I started to think about what happens to the center of mass of the system. And I would also like to hear your thoughts on this.
Oh, who cares? Who the fuck cares? What does the center of mass have to do with hard steel bodies? It's not an issue. The center of mass is never an issue. The center of masses aren't going anywhere. They're going with the steel. Oh, fuck.
So, if we first consider just some object traveling in space, no matter what the shape is, no matter how it's rotating...
Oh, he has a third image. Okay, sorry.
...while it's traveling, I suspect that the center of mass will always be traveling a straight line with a constant velocity.
So there's nothing spinning here, so what the fuck does this have to do with this simple question, do Newton's cradles add or subtract?
So if we assume its mass is the total mass of the object, we can say that it is conserving its momentum in an isolated system. I think this is what conventional physics is saying, and
Well, I fell asleep already, so I have to pause and see if I can find some sort of give a damn. Alright, back. Let's see, I put this back, but I just should make it clear again, okay? The simple argument for 6 days is, do Newton's cradles ever do this? 150 comes in, 50 comes in. You subtract one side from the other side because it's opposite momentum, and you end up with 100 out. Does a Newton cradle ever do this? So I could make this any number, I can make this any number, and it subtracts the two. It calls these, like, it looks to try to make 0, like 50 is 0, but 0 doesn't come out. Whatever the 0 means, right? There's 0 energy, and then there's 0 energy. Yes, it'll poke out your eye, so be careful, because the 0 energy could poke your eye out. So be careful when you're looking for the 0 energy. Be careful, because it could poke your eye out. God damn, this is so fucking stupid. God, fuck. 6 days.
I also assume that you would agree with this. So what I'm wondering is that, what do you think would happen to the center of mass in a system like this, where two objects are colliding? And let's assume its mass is the total mass of the system. Will the center of mass conserve its momentum after the collision? What do you think?
I don't even know what you're talking about. Momentum is always conserved, so that's the only thing I give a shit about, okay? So I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about in terms of the center of mass of this system. Now you have an oscillator, right? Okay, so now you have a coupled oscillator. There's something connecting the center of mass, right? If you don't have something connected to the center of mass, well, the center of mass doesn't give a shit. Okay, the center of mass's position will just move closer and closer as the two objects get closer and closer to each other. The center of mass just moves where, hey, this is always going to weigh less and this is always going to weigh more. So what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, the place where there's 0 gravity between the Earth and the Moon. Well, that location changes based on how close the Moon is to the Earth. Duh. Fuck. You deliberately evaded it, frankly. I mean, I could read my email, but I pointed it out clearly that your biggest burden is to... I can't believe. Okay, so he played more than I thought. I mean, when I jumped ahead, I didn't see any of this. So he's playing the part where I'm pointing out your experiment is dependent on subtraction math happening. That Newton's cradles subtract the momenta. And you just claimed it doesn't happen. You just said, no, it doesn't happen. Nobody believes that happens. See, 50 in, 100 out. Explain what happened to the momentum you created. If you're going to claim there's free momentum there, extra momentum, you have to explain what happens to it. Where does it disappear to? Because gravity is going to give it back 100%. And you have to account for its existence, not you've created it. So this is just describing, this part here. Just make it clear. I mean, I can't believe this guy is such an idiot. I just can't believe he's this big an idiot. So this is the simple problem he has. I put 100 into the experiment. That's what I started with, 100. Okay? They hit, and then they rebounded with what he claims is 150 and 50. Okay? So he claims they rebounded with that. Obviously, because it's a Newton cradle, now the energy is going to come back in. So unlike the silly card experiments and all that crap, you're going to have to deal with that free momentum. The free momentum's coming back to haunt you now, right? There was only 100. Now there's 150 and 50. So now you have 200 in the system. And now when they come together again, only 100 is going to fly out. That's your problem. That's the dilemma you have. Because you have to explain, well, you don't have to explain, right? You just say it magically creates free momentum. You say that's not a problem somehow, even though Professor Lewin says you have to conserve momentum. And then you have this problem where now you have to make it disappear. And Newton's cradles don't know how to make it disappear. There's no explanation. You can't make momentum disappear. A 50 momentum car hitting a 150 momentum car. Okay, a car with real velocity and real mass hits a car with real velocity and real mass. You have to account for every bit of the momentum. Every bit of the momentum has to be explained because it went somewhere. Now in cars it goes to crushing the shit out of the cars. But we know if the cars were indestructible, fully elastic, that we'd have to see all of that momentum in the outcome. The outcome would have to have elements of every bit of that momentum that went in. You can't just make half of it disappear. That's your argument, you shit. That's what you have to explain, you dumbass. Fuck. Alright. So enough of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't address the point. It's just that I think there's a bit of a problem.
I'm sorry I didn't address that point. It's the most profound, pointed, sticking out point there is. You must have a very small one if you didn't get that point. You didn't see it.
What you're really asking me to do is to explain some aspect of kinetic energy theory to you.
No, I'm not asking you to do anything, okay? You won't talk about the history that sucks. You won't talk about the clay experiment that sucks. You won't talk about the fact that Leibniz was a religious kook who didn't know what the fuck he was talking about half the fucking goddamn time. You won't talk about the fact that Newtonians completely buried it because it was absolute nonsense. You won't talk about any of the real facts of your kinetic energy theory, which is it's a fucking fable, for fuck's sake. It has no credible evidence defending it except these little chicanery experiments that you shitheads come up with. You can't show it taking 9 times the fuel to go 3 times as fast. You can't show a goddamn thing. You can't show a bowler knocking down twice as many pins with a half as light ball going twice as fast. You can't show shit. And yet you sit here and arrogantly batter me with your fucking pompous bullshit like you're the smart guy and I'm the idiot. Well, fuck you. You're a fucking idiot. You believe in a fable. You're a religious kook. And you're admitting it right here. KE can't be explained. Well, fuck you then. It's not science. If you can't explain it, it's not science. It's a fucking religion. Explanation leads to KE, so it can't make sense. What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck could that shit mean? God is love. This is science. Fuck. A defender of the great science.
Because the so-called extra momentum or its disappearance, they follow from the conservation of kinetic energy.
So they follow from the conservation of kinetic energy. So overtly in direct contradiction to most what every physicist says, which, well, if you really have to choose between the two, momentum has to be conserved. Yes, momentum's pretty important. You got to conserve that shit. So in direct contradiction to everything said by physicists, frankly.
And any explanation I could give to you, any good one anyway, of course, must lead to kinetic energy.
What is it this is again? So just, what is a gigantic evasion? The simple question you have to answer is, do Newton's cradles do subtraction math or do they not? That's the simple question. If they don't do it, your analysis of the first experiment, the experiment you analyzed, you have to concede has to be fucked somewhere. You have to concede that it's fucked somewhere. Because, yes, it's violating what Newton's cradles always do. Always. So, do you believe that Newton's cradles always add momentums?
It must be in line with the kinetic energy theory. And I suspect that you won't accept any explanation leading to kinetic energy.
Oh, fuck you. You provided no explanation. I can't provide an explanation. I won't provide an explanation. And you won't accept it anyway if I came up with one. I mean, what a pile of shit. You are just such a lowbrow hunk of fucking goddamn weasel. I'm the problem. I'm not accepting your goddamn Jesus theory. Oh, you want to see evidence that's consistent and rational? Gee, you want too much. Consistent and rational evidence? No, I don't have to provide that. I can provide inconsistent fucking goddamn babble. And why aren't you eating it up? Don't you love my religion? Don't you love my K.E. God? Fuck, you're a cunt.
For that specific reason that it leads to kinetic energy. So you are basically starting with the assumption that kinetic energy can't be true. So any explanation leading to kinetic energy can't make any sense. This assumption of yours has been quite...
You have no fucking evidence, you fucking cunt, you fucking weaselly piece of shit! How dare you impugn my intelligence from your non-evidence position, you hunk of goddamn garbage. Oh. Contemptuous scum.
Evident, for example, with the spring launcher experiment done by Stephen Brough.
Oh, amazing. His solder sucker. Yes, all of physics should be built on the holy solder sucker. Let's build a totem pole to the solder sucker. It's such a perfect launching device. I mean, it was proven to be a perfect launching device. It always gets the energy into the object perfectly. And Stephen Brough is such a great scientist that he always engineers it never to hit the center of mass of an object ever. I mean, it's just amazing. Did you analyze any of those experiments to see if the ball went up or was launched down or did anything uneven? No, nothing. No, we don't do that. That would be science. Our science isn't about science. Our science is about lies, propaganda, fraud, and fables. God, you're such a scum.
Because initially you said that that is the experiment that will settle the matter once and for all.
It was a joke, you fucking idiot! It can't settle anything because the energy isn't extracted. Don't you understand? When something flies through gravity, okay, the theoretical premise is it's only air resistance. Air resistance doesn't steal the energy very quickly, so... You know, if you have twice the velocity, it doesn't have any choice but to land twice as far because they're going to hit the ground at the same fucking time, you idiot. If they're going to hit the ground at the same fucking time, I just drop it off the cliff. I shoot it off the cliff. They hit the ground at the same fucking time, you fucking idiot. If it's going twice the velocity, it has to go twice as far. That was the whole fucking trick of it, you shithead. It's impossible not for that to happen. So all he did was show, look, I didn't get it to go twice as fast. Did he prove that he hit them with the right amount of energy? And again, this is all in contradiction to his billiard ball experiment where, well, it does seem like it went twice as fast. I mean, you're just so biased.
Then Stephen did the experiment, got results in line with kinetic energy, and your conclusion was that it's a crap experiment. Or at least that Stephen was somehow doing it incorrectly.
It is a crap experiment. It has actual crap there. I bet you could find actual crap on the experiment. There's so much crap in the room. It's impossible for there not to be crap on it. God damn.
Because his results didn't match with your expectation.
Oh, whatever. So just keep lying some more. The results were a complete fraud, okay? I said in my premise, launch it at twice the velocity. I didn't even talk about launching devices. I said you could use a ramp to roll the object. You create twice the velocity and let it fly off a cliff. And yes, the obvious thing's going to happen. If it's going twice as fast, it can't do anything other than go twice as far. And I was basically just pointing out that, yes, okay, the trick is you're not taking the energy away from the object. So, of course, you're not measuring the energy. Oh, you people are just so fucking dumb.
And I think it's pretty much the same with the air carts. So first you were saying that Professor Lewin is lying to us about the masses of the carts. He's cheating with the masses. And then I guess you saw other people doing the same experiment.
I've never changed anything. What do you mean first I said? I say forever. Professor Lewin obviously couldn't get it to work. Okay, so they just engineered it for demonstration purposes. So he didn't get it. It didn't work well enough, right? It wasn't happening well enough. And so they had to smear some clay on the cart to get it to work better. It seems obvious. That's exactly what happened, and my opinion hasn't changed, you liar.
And you concluded that it must be the springs. So air carts with springs, that's some kind of special case.
I'm just saying, I concluded based on Brozo's own experiment. So you brought up Brozo. Brozo couldn't get it to work with metal against metal. Purely elastic, okay? Without the super elastic, he couldn't get it to work. So, again, you're just denying evidence. I couldn't get it to work, okay? Yeah, my air track was flawed. But the fact is, it didn't happen. I used steel bars banging into each other. It didn't happen.
The only case in the universe where kinetic energy takes place. And you thought that it could never happen with, for example, Newton's cradle. Then there was...
No, I'm saying it right now for 6 fucking goddamn days, and you just lied, okay? You just made up bullshit. You said, yes, it doesn't do subtraction math, and then you sat there and defended your experiment, but you said, I have no explanation. You said, nobody believes Newton's cradles do subtraction math. You said that, okay? No, that's exactly the point. You do believe it.
Was the Newton's cradle experiment with 3-to-1 mass ratio. I did the measurements, and yeah, of course, they were not perfect, but when they supported kinetic energy...
They were ludicrous, is what they were. That's why I didn't even do them. So that's what I said. When I found the video, I played it 4 times before you saw it, right? Before you discovered the video, I had already played it in my videos 4 times. And already pointed out how, gee, it's really interesting looking, but yeah, you can't really analyze it, but the frame rates suck. That's the historical facts. Okay, you want to play some game, go ahead and play your game. I said, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Try to get frame rates out of it, but can we really take them seriously? That's what I said. And it turns out that, no, you're going to take them really seriously. You're going to pretend it's a better quality film than it is. And you're also going to pretend that you have an answer for where the 100 momentum disappeared to, and that you don't have to account for it. 150 goes in one side, 50 goes in the other side. You say 100 pops out, and that's rational. I'm saying it's irrational and impossible. And it's a core of physics that you have to account for it. You have to explain where it's in the form of heat now, or it's in the some other form, that it drifted out of the experiment somewhere. Even though we know Newton's cradles don't let energy drift out. Energy doesn't drift out in any substantial amount. That's why I can keep banging, banging, and banging. On my porch for 10 fucking minutes it can keep going. Well, not banging, but the coupled oscillator can go on and on. Oh, you're such a fucking liar.
You didn't even consider that they might be true, but you thought that there must have been something wrong in my measurements. Because they led to kinetic energy.
No, because it creates a paradoxical contradiction in reality. Because and again, he won't do it. Your obligation is to explain what happens. Again, this experiment doesn't go away. This one doesn't end when the cars bounce off. because the cars go up a ramp and they come back down again. All right, and you have to explain how, well, 200 momentum go in, only 100 momentum pops out. You have to explain that, fuckhead. That's your obligation that you weaseled out of with this whatever.
Then there was also the coupled oscillator experiment done by yourself. It's just that you didn't do any measurements, because apparently it was too obvious that kinetic energy wasn't conserved, but only the total.
I didn't do any measurements because, as I pointed out, yeah, the film just isn't good enough. And also the shape of the objects makes it a little more difficult. The fact that they did rotate a little bit was a problem. So I said, until it's done better, no point. But clearly it's indicating that you look at it and you watch it, it's clear if you're going to conserve the momentum, it's doing a pretty good job of doing that. And your argument is it doesn't conserve the momentum, which means that there's a certain amount of energy on one side. Then when the energy's on the other side, there's twice as much energy. And then when the energy's back over here, there's half as much energy. And then when the energy's over here, there's twice as much energy. That's the ludicrous position you're in. So that's the theory you're defending. To me, it might as well be talking about Jesus walking on water, because that doesn't sound at all rational. That the universe just poofs it out of existence, poofs it into existence, poofs it out of existence, poofs it into existence. Just absolute crap. Sorry, your theory sucks. It sounds, looks like, smells like, walks like, talks like a fucking goddamn retarded duck.
Total momentum, the way you define it, was conserved. But again, Stephen Bro did his measurements from your video, and I'm not saying anything about how good his measurements were, because I have no idea about that. But his result...
Okay, so again, you're going to the source, Stephen Bro, the guy who has done hundreds of experiments he didn't show us, right? Because they didn't come out his way. Hundreds. Oh yeah, he's trustworthy. Oh, wait a minute. No, he's not. He's the one with these titles that say he's proved something. Remember, he has the really famous one where he says, well, my prediction is 16, and his prediction is 12, and I got the answer of 14, which means I win. That's Stephen Bro's credibility. He proved it. He got the answer of 14, his prediction was 16, my prediction was 12, and he proved he's right. Yeah, that's a credible scientist.
Again, supported kinetic energy. I don't know if you have responded to that video by Stephen Bro. At least I haven't seen that. And then there was this one...
You haven't seen a ton of videos, apparently. Like I said, I played the pendulum video in 4 or 5 videos before you brought it up.
A comment from you. I don't remember in which video it was, but you were saying that if somebody has an experiment proving kinetic energy, then there must be something wrong in that experiment. That's what you said. So,
liar.
I don't think there...
I mean, whatever. I'm just saying, I never said that. I certainly believe that, okay? But I don't know. There was no place where I made some dramatic statement, I don't think. But I'm just saying, it's clear that... The thing that's clear is that the two formulae, the two definitions of how energy functions in the universe, Newton's vision versus Leibnizian vision, are decidedly opposed. They're not at all consistent or compatible. They're directly different answers to exactly the same question. And the simple truth is, as I've pointed out, and I've gotten Physics Michael to concede, is that this shitty energy you're defending can't move anything. It's useless. It's meaningless. It can't move a spaceship at all. Can't do it. Can't be used as a method of motivating matter in space, because space just cares about your momentum.
Will ever be experimental evidence that will be good enough for you? Because you have so
again, these weasels, right? They have this easy thing to do. They could show us 3 times the velocity doing 9 times the damage, or they could show us 3 times the velocity requiring 9 times the fuel. They could do either one of those 2 things, and they won't do either. And these obnoxious, lying scum who haven't produced that simple piece of evidence in 300 fucking years. 300 fucking years they're saying, 9 times the fuel to go 3 times as fast. And they won't show it. What's scum?
Strong intuitions about the laws of nature. But why should the universe be intuitive to us? Especially considering that
So it's a big lie. I'm against intuition. I'm against seems like is like. I'm the one pointing out to you that, well, when you're denting clay with round objects, it's not going to be linear. I'm the one pointing out to you that, well, it rolled 4 times as fast, but it didn't actually do 4 times the work. It didn't actually heat the ground 4 times as much. The ground didn't really absorb 4 times the energy. It's not what it seems like. Seems like isn't is like. That's what I'm famous for saying, fuckhard. Okay, I'm not defending any intuition shit, you liar. I'm saying that these fucking idiotic, complex, retarded diagrams you draw of reality are just that. Unnecessarily complicated piles of mush you have invented and made up. All right? And they are not consistent.
intuitions are largely based on both our Darwinian history and our very limited everyday experiences. So our intuitions can easily lead to wrong conclusions.
Okay, we don't have limited day-to-day experiments. There's absolutely zero indication that when I slide the little lever on a fan, for example, or some other object, that I go from low, medium to high, and all of a sudden I'm using 9 times the electricity. And nobody sees it in their car. They go from 20 to 60. They know they're not using 9 times the fuel. Okay, so let's not say our common experience isn't pretty, frankly, there's a lot of it. Okay, we've all, as kids, done teeter-totters and spinning things and all kinds of things. And the basic reality is that, yeah, momentum matters. Momentum's pretty fucking important. Yeah. Fuck you. You are such a scum.
If you want to do real science, if you want to have these scientific debates.
Yeah, he's a real scientist. This fucking weaselly lying sack of shit cunt bastard thinks he's a real scientist. Yeah, you're a real religious kook. Get what you deserve, you liar.
I think the first step to take is to at least consider the possibility that you might be wrong. Okay, that was it. Bye.
Have you ever a good argument?
No, you didn't.
Consider it without even a shred of evidence from their side. I should consider I'm wrong because you've provided evidence that the ground does absorb 4 times the energy when you roll something across it. Twice the velocity does make the ground vibrate with 4 times the energy. And even though you're going half the speed 3/4 down the track, that doesn't mean anything, you see. That's not an indicator that, yeah, part of the voyage you weren't doing as much work. I mean, you're such a fucking liar. Play one of the 5-minute videos, you lying sack of shit. Oh, God, you're just such a scummy piece of crap.
Go for an argument.
Well, an argument's not the same as contradiction.
Can be.
No, it can't. An argument's a connected series of statements to establish...
So this is more science, right? I could play Simpsons. I could do different things to mock you in some way. Is that what you want to do? Is just throw in a bunch of mocking clips? Like Thunderfoot, you just take the cheap road? You can't actually defend what you're saying, so you have to do this. This is what you have to resort to. Oh, it's just semantics. Oh, it's not about a real subject. Oh, the argument's not really an argument. No, it's decisively an argument. Can Newton's cradles ever subtract the left energy from right energy? That's the argument. You're saying it can. I'm saying it can't. So that's the argument. And in this video, you conceded, okay, no, it doesn't do subtraction math. And no one's saying it does subtraction math. When that's exactly what you are saying. For 6 days, you're defending. So just lie some more. You're just such a pathetic, lying, weaselly punk of steaming, crappy shit as a human being. God damn it. You fucking suck. Oh, god damn, I hate people. Just hate them. Scum everywhere. 6 days. And this retard still doesn't get the subject. No, we have no comments by the usual clowns. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that. Plain and simple explanation. There was no... He has a fucking icon in the middle of the video saying he doesn't have to explain. There is no explanation. I can't explain. I mean, it's just amazing. Right here.
Must be
Did you
live.
read what he wrote? KE can't be explained. Quote. Explanation leads to KE, so it can't make sense. So I guess he's quoting me here. He didn't provide any explanation. Okay, so god damn, you people are such weasels. No, it isn't. Well, thank you, White Henry. I beg to differ. Yes, it is. Okay, so they're doing the, Monty Python thing. Isn't that so funny? So they're just so trivial. I mean, the whole subject, we'll just make believe. We'll just make believe it all away. We don't have to deal with the controversy because we'll just laugh at controversy itself. Oh, it's all semantics. Oh, it all doesn't matter. As long as God wins. As long as we keep the people having the faith. Keep the faith, everybody. Alright, well, this is just useless. Green man is, from the green planet or whatever. Is there a green planet? Well, anyway, he's from it. If there is one. Alright, so I'll just leave it there. I could do, there's some old Physics Michael comments I found that are pretty funny. But, yep, almost an hour, almost very much. There's so little to this video, right? So, I should just said, no, it isn't, So he says in the video, nobody is saying Newton's cradles do subtraction math. Even though his whole analysis depends on a Newton's cradle doing subtraction math. It's so duplicitous. You have to defend that Newton's cradles do subtraction math. That's your obligation, is to defend the fact that they do it. Not that they don't. You fucking idiot. Let's see if Physics Michael will show up and call this brilliant analysis. That'll be worth the watch. The doctorate in physics. Oh, god damn. Just can't. No integrity. All these people, there's at least a dozen people involved here, and none of you have any sense of having character, guts, and integrity. Nothing. Doesn't even occur to you to be something like honest. Amazing.